Welcome to episode 1457 of the Sleeper in the Bust. I am Justin Mason, joined by Joe Orrico. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to talk. It's our first show together since FPAS.
Yeah.
My favorite time of the baseball year when there's not a real rush to do anything. If you don't want to do your, second base rankings today, you can do them tomorrow. It's kind of just a chill time of the year, catching up on some TV shows and movies. But we're starting to ramp things up, and it's good to talk today. We're going to dive into some free agents, and I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, I've been in the just the midst of projections, right? Like I'm almost done with my starting pitchers, and then I can get started on hitters. Decided to do them different order this year. Usually I do hitters first, and then I'm still crushing pitchers come January. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do pitchers first this year. So almost done with my starting pitchers, and then I'll start crushing all those hitters for everybody. It's been a fun off season so far. Like we actually have a lot to talk about. And I'm glad you reached out. You're like, hey, we need to talk about some of this stuff because there have been moves. Paul unable to join us today, but he will be back with us probably next week when we record another episode because we got to start doing position previews pretty soon. Like we're getting to that point where like, hey, if we don't get moving on these position previews, especially because it takes us, a few episodes per position just to get through everything, we'll never get through it all. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk all hot stove. We're gonna talk about where everybody is landing, and like I said, quite a few things. We're not gonna talk about, except for one exception, we're not gonna talk about guys going back to where they were, right? So Kyle Schwarber goes back to Philly. Okay, like that, it doesn't really change his value, right? And we'll talk about guys like that. Brandon Woodruff goes back to Milwaukee. We'll talk about those guys in the position preview. We don't need to talk about what their status or their value is now that they're in a new location. But we're going to talk about all the other signings here. Let's start off with a big one that really surprised me, kind of came out of nowhere. I really thought Pete Alonso was going to go back to the Mets. And I remember I was listening to, like, maybe it was Buster Only or someone of that ilk talking about, like, hey, like Alonso's, like, he has the most value to the Mets, right? Like he is their all-time home runs leader. He is, a favorite. And I guess we'll add in the Mets trade of Brandon Nimmo. The Mets have lost a number of guys. Let's start with Alonso, though. What do you think about him going to Baltimore?
Yeah, it was surprising, but after hearing the way that some Mets fans were talking about it, I saw Ariel Cohen did a long breakdown of it on Twitter. After they traded Nimmo, I think a lot of people started to see like maybe they're not going to be going all the way in the way that people had expected after an offseason where they signed Soto, because the team is kind of in this semi-rebuilding mode. Bringing in Soto kind of extended that, but also they're still trying to rebuild at the same time. These moves, Alonso, and we'll talk about Edwin Diaz as well, these moves specifically tell me that the Mets are entering into more of a rebuild, shed salary type of mode, which is really strange with Steve Cohen, but that's what it indicates, right? They didn't go an extra couple million on Diaz. It doesn't seem like they needed to go that much higher to bring back Alonso. Maybe he just wanted to be gone. I heard also a report today that Francisco Lindor might not be super happy because there's some stuff in the clubhouse. So maybe the team is just kind of crashing and burning all around. Not really sure what to make of the Mets perspective until it all rolls out. If they end up signing Kyle Tucker, nobody really talks about this as being a poorly run organization or anything like that. But just strictly on the Alonso side, I don't know why there was some talk in the baseball world of people being hesitant to give him a contract. He doesn't strike out a lot. He's a huge consistency guy, 36, 37 home run floor every single year, 130, 140 WRC plus. I have no doubt that he's going to continue to do this for the duration of this deal. I think it's a 5-year deal. So sign him till he's 36 years old. I think that he is going to more than live up to this contract in Baltimore. Looking at the park factors for home runs, if you just looked at the 3-year rolling factor for home runs for right-handed hitters, Citi Field is better than what you're going to get at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the last 3 years, quite substantially. But if you just look at 2025, which you probably should be looking at more at just the recent sample size for this, excuse me, Oriole Park at Camden Yards had a 108 home run park factor for righties. kind of counterintuitive after they moved the wall back, but a plus park for right-handed home runs. And Citi Field was at 95 last year for right-handed home runs. So Pete might actually stand to gain a couple of dingers going to a
Well,
lineup that is going to be pretty good, I think.
remember they moved the walls back in a little bit in places in left field last
Right.
year.
But it's
So,
still farther back than it was 3-4 years ago. If I'm
well,
not
yeah, but I mean that's when it was home run haven in Camden.
Yeah.
So, like I love this move for Baltimore. It does muddy things up there a little bit. And I think, like I said, I think Pete's gonna be fine. He'll be fine wherever he goes. Like
Yeah.
this is a guy who could hit homers in any park, right? It doesn't really matter where he's at, unless he went to an extreme location that like great for hitting. I wasn't gonna be like changing his value that much.
Right.
Pete can hit home runs in any place. So in Baltimore, though, like what does this do for them, right? They've got Basayo, who was probably going to be, their everyday DH, and Kobe Mayo, who is going to be their everyday first baseman. Like, does this team hate Kobe Mayo like that much? You got to think a trade is on the docket here, right? Like that they're going to finally maybe move some of these offensive pieces to go get some starting pitching, because the offense looks great. You got Holiday, Westberg, if he can stay healthy, Gunnar Henderson, Pete Alonso, Adley Rutschman. They added Taylor Ward, who's another guy we should talk about here in a minute, is as well. Like that is a really, really good. I didn't even get to Dylan Beavers and Colton Cowser, right? Like that's a really good lineup in Baltimore. But then you go over and look at their pitching, and it's Trevor Rogers. Is he going to be the guy we saw when he came back last year, or is he going to go regress quite a bit? I mean, I think we all have to think there's going to be some regression. Is Kyle Bradish going to be the guy we saw when he came back? I really like Kyle Bradish. But then you've got Dean Kremer, you've got Tyler Wells and Cade Povich. Like, that's not a very good rotation. I'd feel much better if they had a frontline ace to go along with, these guys. Could this be the makings of a Scooble deal? Could this be the makings because that? I mean, I don't think the Orioles have been one of the teams that have been like widely linked. No. But they seem to be the team with a lot of firepower to go get a guy like Scooble.
Yeah, and they did this with Corbin Burns a couple years ago. So there is some precedent for them going out and acquiring one of the best pitchers in baseball. They have an abundance, and we've been saying this for I don't know how many years now. The abundance of Orioles prospects needs to be dealt for pitching. And now it's come to a point where they have almost no choice. Ryan Mountcastle seems like a really obvious name to go. Not that he's going to fetch a huge return, especially coming off of a poor year, but there's no real room for him. Tyler O'Neill is another one, a guy who has a really high ceiling, but I don't know where they're going to play him. Maybe it's a Beavers and I don't know how the prospects would work out. Beavers, Bradfield, whoever it would be that would need to headline a trade for Scooble. But I think they should at least, kick the tires and see if they can get that done, because I completely agree. As constructed right now, Bradish is the best pitcher in the rotation. And then after him, I don't really know what to expect from any of them. Tyler Wells has mostly been good, but he's also gotten by with, a 20% strikeout rate. And I don't know how projectable he is going forward. Steamer has him at a 4.74 next year. Trevor Rogers, I think, got by on a lot of luck in 2025. 226 BABIP, 84% strand rate, 0.49 homer 9. I think he's going to come back down to earth. They need to make a trade. And Tariq Skubal sounds like the best option they could possibly look at.
Yeah, my fear is like they just go out and they sign like a Max Scherzer type, like they just go get like one of those innings. They were linked to Ranger Suarez before, like Suarez signed somewhere, right?
Is Kyle Gibson still around?
I don't think so, but let's talk about the Baltimore trade. We'll talk about Taylor Ward to Baltimore, Grayson Rodriguez to the Angels. This was another deal that I didn't get, and two was very, very surprising, at least to me. You take Taylor Ward, who was great last year. I think hit 36 home runs, and was just kind of a force in the middle of that really powerful, potent Angels lineup. But you get him for 1 year, and then you trade away 4 years of control on Grayson Rodriguez, who, yes, he hasn't pitched in 2 seasons because of injury, but when he is on the mound, he would be their number one pitcher, right? So, like, what are your thoughts on Ward going to Baltimore and then Rodriguez going to the Angels?
It kind of implies that there's something really, really wrong with Rodriguez. The fact that they're willing to get rid of him, to your point, for 1 year of Taylor Ward, with the shoulder, the lat, the elbow problems that he's had already at his age. I think there will be some people who think maybe he's just done, and maybe that's unfair to him. But going to a team like the Angels, which is like a graveyard for pitching development, I don't know how optimistic we can really be about his future going forward. He's not going to be somebody that I'm going to be targeting in drafts, at least for the time being. I'm not even sure what the price is. I haven't been doing DC.
I'll look it up while you talk.
But I can't see myself being interested unless this is like a 48th round pick or something like that. And he's not going to be that cheap. And I don't know from a health standpoint. And I also, at this point, from a development standpoint, what are they going to be able to do for him in Los Angeles? Because there is not a great history, especially recently, of developing pitching there.
Yeah, Grayson Rodriguez going at pick 308.
Oh, man, I can't do it.
That doesn't seem awful. But at the same time, like, you've got other pitchers around that point that are, at least someone interested. Peyton Tolley going around that spot.
Connor Griffin going right there.
Yeah, Jameson Taillon going a little bit later. I don't mind taking a shot there. Like, that's not a, Brady Singer going a little bit later. Seth Lugo, like, that's not a bad area to take the gamble. Especially now. Here's the thing. Right now, most people who are drafting, right? If you're drafting in December, you are usually drafting gladiators or you're drafting draft champions. I don't want him in those leagues.
Yeah.
Like, that's I don't want Grayson Rodriguez in a league where I have to hold on to him all year long, because chances are he's going to be hurt. Right? He may not be ready for the start of the season. We have no idea where he's going to be at. I know there's talk was like, oh, he should have a normal spring training. I don't buy that. Like, I don't buy that at all. Right. So like, I don't want him in those kind of formats, especially like a gladiator format, right? We got TDK right now in the chat saying gladiators forever. We're, I believe, in a gladiator together right now. And yeah, you can have him. I'm not drafting him in that league. So, to me, like, I want guys who are going to be on the field in those formats. So, using Grayson Rodriguez in the 23rd. Yeah, I get that. I'm not taking him there, at least not yet.
In a fab league, I could maybe get behind it and maybe something's fixed. But what are the odds with the couple? Has he had 2 surgeries now? I think there have been, I think it's 2.
It feels like it's been, I don't know.
I think it's been 2, but it's been a couple of significant arm injuries combined with the Angels. Like, I don't mean to harp on that point, but just it's such a bad track record. I'm not optimistic.
I'm not either. What about Ward? Like we know that he's another guy who's struggled to stay healthy. But when he's healthy, he has been really, really productive, including last season. Last year, he hit 228, 317, 475 with 36 home runs. Are you buying in on, a continuing of that in Baltimore?
I can totally buy into it. Like I said before, when talking about Alonso, right-handed power is actually not as bad as one might think in Baltimore. And his price is $165 in DCs this year through 32 of them. That's pretty reasonable if he's able to stay healthy. This is a guy over the last 4 years, 136 WRC plus, 108, 112, 117. It's not going to be a huge help in batting average, but on a horrible Angels team, he hits 36 homers, drives in 103. Who's to say he can't repeat that on what should be a much better Orioles team next year? So I think that price is really, really reasonable.
Yeah, looking at his lineup, it's a really good lineup for Ward, but they have to trade someone. They have to trade multiple people. Yeah. They've got, right now, Roster Resource has Tyler O'Neill on the short side of a platoon with Dylan Beavers. There's no way that's happening. They just paid Tyler O'Neill. Like O'Neill is playing every day when healthy. Like it's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
understand like you know Ross Reese has got to put that in there because they've got to show like hey like this is going to be probably split time by the end of the season if the lineup stays as constructed. But that's because O'Neill will spend so much time on the IL that Beavers gets playing time if that's what ends up happening. But like the fact that they have chosen with multiple moves this offseason to once again block off like some of their better prospects, you know, like Kobe Mayo now projected to go back down to the minors. He's only got one option left. You've got you know, Heston Kjerstad. He's only got one option left, going right back down to the minor leagues. They got to trade those guys. Dylan Beavers, they have to trade all three of those guys in a like, you know, in
For
packages to
Scooble.
improve their. But yeah, like they absolutely like go get a like frontline starter, like even like a Nick Pivetta deal, right? Like you know,
Yeah.
like go get somebody that can be, if not a number one, a number two. Like, and maybe that's what they end up doing because they don't want to pay the price on 1 year for Scooble, though. I mean, they did it for Corbin Burns, right?
Yeah.
But go load this team up with number two starters. Like, do something.
Yeah, or maybe, you know, they've already traded with Milwaukee in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe see if Freddie Peralta's available.
There's been a lot of talk about Peralta the last couple days, so that would not surprise me at all. The other trade that we need to discuss is the Brandon Nimmo to the Rangers, Marcus Semien to the Mets. This is a weird trade too, because like you said, like, oh, well, maybe the Nimmo move is about like shedding money. Well, Simeon's getting paid too. Like it's not like he's cheap. I don't love this for the Mets or for the Rangers, really. It's just such a weird deal. You know, trading, you know, guys who are kind of been the face of the franchise. It seems like the Rangers may start jettisoning some contracts too, because there was talk today that they could be listening on Corey Seager. But where are you at on this? Does this change the value for these guys massively for you?
Not really. I don't think that there's a massive difference between the two offenses. I mean, Soto and Lindor is such an elite duo there. And we went into last season, at least I did, foolishly. It feels foolish now, thinking the Rangers were going to be one of the better offenses in all of baseball. I really did think that going into last year, and it didn't really end up working out, obviously. But Nimmo, Langford, Seager, Jake Berger, Carter, Young. I mean, it's not a bad offense at all. Nimmo's probably going to lead off there. A lot of runs. I could see his stat line being very similar to what we've seen in years past. You know, 25-ish homers, 85 runs, 85 ribbies. He's been stealing the last couple of years. Not sure how much he's going to keep that up now, as he's going to be 33 by opening day. But I think he's a really solid hitter overall. I'm more optimistic about him than I am about Semien at this stage of his career, just considering what we saw last year. He hit 230, 89 WRC plus. I think that he is a serviceable fantasy piece. I'm not 100% sure on the price. Let me just check it real quick for Semien. 271 in DCs. Wow, I didn't realize it was that low. Yeah. You know what? I can be talked in. Just seeing how low
700 plate appearances. And if he
time,
yeah, and like if he's gonna be like leading off in New York, right? Like if he's just kind of taking all over that role, then or hitting second. Right now, we have him hitting second behind in between Lindor and Soto. That's a lot of runs. Like that's a lot of runs scored potentially for Semien. That being said, like I agree, like it's kind of lackluster performance everywhere else, right? Like even with a little bit of a part boost going from Texas to New York, like it's not much of one. Like he, you know, his X home runs in New York would have been 17 to his 15 home runs he actually had. So this kind of hurts both of them a little bit in my mind. You know, maybe this boosts Semien a little bit more than it boosts Nimmo for me, but I'm not super interested in either outside of like in Semien. Like I do like him in Gladiators. I do like him in Draft Champions because I know he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, I didn't realize the price was quite that low. That does get me at least to the point where I'm thinking, okay, I don't need to trust him as my starting second baseman. He can be a middle infielder. And a lot of people out there listening won't even be playing NFBC. If you're playing like
Mhm.
super shallow formats, that's like
Yeah, you know,
that's your last pick, you know. And
yeah.
at that point, the upside is worth it. If Simeon can get back to playing, and he's been,
But if you're playing in a league that shallow, why not just take the gamble on super high upside?
yeah,
Like,
but
right? Like, take a gamble that you can find like the next Michael Garcia, right?
no, for
And
sure. But the way that I expect Simeon will be priced is to the
yeah,
point where you can take that upside and then you can kind of fall back on Simeon in the last round, or he'll be in the free agent pool. A lot of people play 10 teamers, like he won't
mhm.
even be drafted in a lot of leagues, and he could be a guy that ends up scoring 100 runs. And honestly, if this ends up working out the way that we have it projected, if he's sandwiching those two guys, 90 runs, 90 RBIs, or something in that ballpark is totally attainable in 700 plate appearances easily.
The problem is like there's still guys going behind him at second base that I think I want more, right? Like if you're in a shallow league like that, wouldn't you rather have Tommy Edman? Like when Edman's healthy, he's playing on the Dodgers, dual
Yeah.
eligible, right? Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't you rather have Colt Keith? I would. Oh, I'm a
Me.
Colt Keith truther. So like, would you rather have Brendan Donovan?
I'm with you on Donovan. I'm with you on Edmund. Looking who else is going after Ernie Clement. I'm a little bit of a sucker
Yeah.
for.
My
Um,
draft, Christian
prove
Campbell.
how much of a sucker I am for Ernie Clement for those who are watching on the screen.
Oh,
I had a jersey. I got a little Ernie
oh,
Clement jersey. Little Blue Jays guy. Great radio. Apologies for that. No, there are a couple second basemen that I like going later. But I think if you're getting to this point and Simeon's still sitting there, there are a lot worse picks you could make around 270, and his max is 361. Like just looking at the range, there are a lot of times he's going after pick 300 even. So I'm kind of talking myself into Marcus Simeon a little bit.
all right. Let's we'll kind of bust through some of these other hitter ones because really what's really interesting is one starter and then a crap ton of closers or relief pitchers changing locations.
Yeah.
So Cedric Mullins to Tampa Bay. How much do we care? I know he's my dude, but like,
yeah, you're the guy. If you don't care, then I don't think anybody should care. I think that as of today, he's slotted in as the everyday center fielder on our projections here. I think that that's probably a little bit optimistic, thinking
yeah.
he's going to be the everyday center fielder. I think he's probably more of a plug and play guy. If you need steals, he might be streamable in a certain week if there are 6 or 7 righties going up against them, but not going to be a huge target.
No, like I mean, I love Cedric Mullins. I always will love Cedric Mullins. He's coming off of an okay year, 17 homers, 22 stolen bases, but hit 216. The underlying skills have deteriorated. Season by season. I think at this point, like, yeah, he's really not that interesting. Not to mention, they're going back to Tampa Bay, right? They're not going to be in St. Pete, which helped a lot of that offense get generated. They're going to be back in Tampa Bay at the Trop. I don't find this that enticing of a move, and I'll be really surprised if he is a full-time player all season. What about we got Jake Fraley also going to the Rays? This is one we both missed. Like it's just like it happened in the end of November, I think, like right around Thanksgiving time. So we were busy, doing our holiday stuff. You with your Canadian Thanksgiving and me with my real one. Like, how much do we care about this? Obviously, going to be a strong side platoon bat, if that.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: people should care about this about as much as Americans care about Canadian Thanksgiving. I'll put it that way. So,
okay,
I like Jake Fraley, and I don't mean to shade him. Like there were a couple of years there in Cincy where he was a really productive fantasy player, 15 and 21. Decent WRC pluses a few times, but I can't do it. If I can't do it with Mullins and he's actually projected for playing time, Fraley is projected to be on the bench or maybe strong side platoon. But they got to make a couple trades in Tampa too. There's like 5 left-handed outfielders. They're not going to go into the season like that. But Fraley, maybe he gets 350 plate appearances, something like that. I can't see him being that productive.
This has like the makings of a Josh Lowe trade, right? Like that Josh Lowe's not going to be on this team come opening day. Because like I said, there's just way too many left-handed left-handed outfielders on this roster right now. So I think at some point they're gonna move one of these guys, most likely Josh Lowe, considering we just brought in Mullins and Fraley. All right, last offensive guy we're going to talk about, Mike Yastrzemski goes to the Braves. I believe this one happened yesterday, and interesting. Like, he was pretty decent after the trade to Kansas City. Right now, he's projected to hit 6 and be on the strong side of platoon. In what should be, we say this every year too, just like the Rangers one, what should be a better offense than it is shown. Any interest in Yastrzemski?
Yeah, I think I said it in Arizona. Like, I've been banging my head against the wall for I don't know how long. I guess 3 years now, thinking the Braves offense is going to turn itself around. But Yastrzemski is a really good real life player, especially if they are going to just strictly platoon him. He's a 120 WRC plus against righties in his career every single season. And he's mostly just playing against righties. The majority of his at bats are, but every year 106, 99, 111, 106, 106. He's a dream for a manager to have, to platoon, to pinch hit. But I don't know how much that will really translate to the average fantasy player. He's not going to steal. He's not going to hit for average. The home run total is not going to be into the 20s. It'll probably be like, 13 to 15 home runs. So from a real life baseball perspective, I think it's a really good signing. He's still going to be productive, I think, for another couple of years. From a fantasy point of view, in DCs, I could see it, but that's pretty much the only format for him.
Yeah, it's draft champions or NL only, right? Like, he's going at pick 491 right now. Like, that's really, really cheap. And like in the area of guys, like, are any of these guys going to play full time? No, probably not. So like, yeah, you're getting a middle of the order bat on a good, like I said, what should be a good offense. It hasn't been, but what should be a good offense. Yeah, like, I'm fine with it in DCs. Anywhere else, I don't really care. Like, it's he should not register in a 15 team mix, much less a 10 or a 12.
Yeah.
All right, you got to be happy. Dylan Cease to Toronto. I didn't expect that to be the place where Dylan Cease would end up, much less be like the first real big signing of the offseason. But Toronto said, hey, listen, we just made it to the World Series. We should have won the World Series. We need a frontline starter. We're going to go pay the money on Dylan Cease and hope he puts in some of those frontline years. How you feeling?
I feel really good about it. And I know a lot of people, especially I saw a lot of Padres fans, like, thank God he's gone. That bum is off our team. It's like, okay, like, he's one of the better arms in all of baseball still. If you look at WAR going back from 2021 through 2025, he is the 4th highest Fangraphs WAR among all pitchers in baseball, only bested by Zach Wheeler, Logan Webb, and Kevin Gausman. He's a good pitcher. He's a great pitcher, I think. And yes, there is some inconsistency there for sure. This last season was brutal to manage, to talk about, like, buy low shows and things like that. Every time I did a buy low segment last year, I think Dylan Cease was included in it. He was infuriating. But I think a big part of this is also Pete Walker. Pete Walker is, in my opinion, one of the better pitching coaches in all of baseball. And he has success with this archetype of pitcher. High strikeout rate, high stuff, high walk rate, and he's able to turn them into more successful arms. The most recent examples, Robbie Ray and Yusei Kikuchi coming to Toronto with that same type of profile, albeit from the left-hand side. 30% strikeout rate, but it comes with an 11 or 10% walk rate. Not the greatest command. They both came to Toronto recently. Ray won a Cy Young. Kikuchi didn't win a Cy Young, obviously, but improved over his time in Toronto. And I think that this is the right type of pitching coach for Dylan Cease, somebody that can work on his command. And I think you will see him post mid to low 3 ERAs in probably, 4 or 5 of the 7 years of that deal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the signing. I'm not a big Dylan Cease guy in terms of fantasy. And it's just the inconsistency because I'm the kind of guy who, like, especially when I'm drafted in SP1 or 2, like, I want to feel like that guy is going to turn out pretty good production. And the worst part about Cease is when he doesn't turn out that good of production, it isn't because he's hurt. Like, you're actually eating it, right? You're eating that bad production. And so for me, like I stay away from now. This is if you were a Dylan Cease guy, if you've been a Dylan Cease backer, this is a year to get back in, right? Because his price is going to be lower. Currently, he is going off as the number 29 pitcher, and that includes a number of relievers going ahead of him at pick 80. Like if he turns back into Dylan Cease the stud, the guy we saw in 2022, or even the guy we saw in 2024, you're getting a steal because you're going to get a crap ton of strikeouts. He had 215 strikeouts last year in 168 innings. That's insane, even with the bad ratios. And he's going to be going to a team that's obviously going to be competing, right? We don't know what the Padres are going to look like this year. There's a lot of talk that they could move off of some players. Did you even talk about will they trade Tatis this offseason? I don't think they will, but I don't know that that's going to be a team that is actually competing for a playoff spot this year. We know Toronto will be. They're going to win a lot of games, and Cease is going to get a lot of those wins himself. Plus strikeouts. It's the question is what is that ERA and WHIP going to look like? And that's the kind of reasons why I just stick away from a guy like Cease.
Totally get it. I think that he's doing the kind of Aaron Nola thing where it's every other year. And this is, to your point, the time to buy in if you are a believer. I was already going to be buying back into Dylan Cease. I thought that he'd be a little bit cheaper, but I can live with 80. I can live with pick 80. He's going right around guys who there are also a lot of question marks about. Jesus Luzardo was really good last year, but there was also some really bad stinkers for Luzardo. Yuri Perez is in that same ballpark, and Kyle Bradish, lots of question marks about them. Nick Pavetta's in that same range, albeit about 10 picks later, but Pavetta, as much as I really like Pavetta, has not exactly been the face of consistency throughout his career. So it's a really good range, and I think if you're talking about all those names I just mentioned, the upside for Cease is probably the highest. Maybe Yuri Perez, but
I think Perez has just a high upside, if not higher. But I agree. He's going around where he should. My projections put him about 2 rounds later, so I won't be getting very much Dylan Cease, if at all. Or I doubt I get him at all this year. But I don't have a problem with where he's going. It's just not for me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fair. I get it.
Cody Ponce goes to the Blue Jays. I don't know what to make of these guys. He's coming over from the NPB. I struggle. I struggle with him just because I know there's been a profile change on Ponce. He's throwing harder. He's got different pitches than when he was here in the U.S. I just think it's such a hard transition, man. I tend to stay away from him. Are you interested in Cody Ponce at all?
I can see myself being interested in him as long as the price doesn't shoot up. And I think it had started to go up a little bit in NFBC leagues. He's going usually in the late 200s, early 300s.
488 in DCs.
I think that's factoring in before he was signed. And
his min is 333 or 334.
I'm seeing 238, but I know there's some inconsistencies.
Are you looking at all drafts? Or are you looking at?
Oh, you know what? I have all drafts. Yeah,
see, and that includes gladiators that only go 23 rounds.
Right. Okay. So just looking at the last couple days, I'm seeing 304, 336, 354, 314, 324, 338. So generally.
So I'll just do the last week of draft champions because I think that'll give us the best idea of where we're at on Ponce. But over the course, of course, there are no drafts that have.
Of course, if you go back 2 weeks,
I'll go back to the beginning of. I don't know why it's not. It's not now. Not now. It's not showing me anything.
But in terms of just while you try and pull that up, I'll talk about what he did last year a little bit. 180 innings, a 1.89 ERA, a 0.94 WHIP, 30% strikeout minus walk rate. He led the KBO in just about every single pitching stat that there was. So I think that there is at least some reason to be optimistic coming back in the first year where these guys have learned something new. I think there might have been a kick change or something else added as well. these guys tinker with a few things. They come back, they have a few tricks, and we've seen it recently. Michaelis had a good, I think it was his first year, maybe first 2 years back were pretty solid. Merrill Kelly has been good, I think, every year back. Eric Fetty's first year back was a great year. And I think considering how great Ponce was last year, there is some reason to think that he can have a good season pitching in the bigs. Will that be a sub 2 ERA? Of course not. But can he give you like a high threes ERA with a 1.3 whip, 1.25 whip? I could see it happening as a fifth starter for the Jays. I just wonder what it means for Jose Barrios, who right now is projected in a bullpen role.
Yeah, I think that Brios is likely going to be kind of that sixth starter. He's going to be a long reliever, and I think they're going to, when a guy gets hurt, they'll have an easy guy to move back into the rotation, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you have a loaded team. Like, you got to pitch well in order to kind of keep that spot, especially with, Savage, right? And they got Shane Bieber coming back because he accepted the qualifying offer. There's no room at the end unless they decide they're going to go to a 6-man, which I just don't see happening.
There have been talk about slow playing Bieber because apparently he was fighting through some forearm troubles in the postseason and just went through it because he was trying to win a World Series. Understandable. But now he's kind of paying the piper for that one, so they might slow play him a little bit. But the thing with Jose Barrios that's interesting too is there was talk that he was on his own accord away from the team during the World Series because he was pissed that he wasn't pitching. So he wasn't even in the dugout. He wasn't with the team at all. Feels like the relationship's a little bit fractured. So if he does get traded, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
Yeah, you just wonder where and who's going to take on that money. Right?
They'd have to eat money for sure. Toronto would have to eat six or 7 million. I think Barrios is 19 million for the next couple of years, but he does have an opt out. I think after this upcoming season, which I doubt he'll take, it's 20 million, 19 million. I don't see him getting that on the open market, considering how he looks. But I've heard talk of maybe he gets thrown in a trade. Toronto was kicking the tires on Ketel Marte, and maybe there's him and Barger and somebody else. There's been a lot of things talked about, but if he doesn't start the year in Toronto, I wouldn't at all be surprised.
Yeah. Okay. And then they're asking in the chat, what's your wish cast on Pod? Maybe a little Crochet. I don't think you can get near Crochet. The velocity is real. I think the main question is how good is that command and control going to be? He's got a kick change. I think you could be. I think your best case scenario is a Timu version of Cease, right? A guy who can get strikeouts. Right. But the command and control are going to be, problematic. You have to remember too, playing on that kind of infield turf, when the ball is on the ground, it moves a lot faster. BABIP will probably be a little bit higher than you would expect. So I would say hey, especially if he's going pick, 4 or something, I don't have a problem taking a gamble. Take the dart though. You'll know really, really quickly whether it's working or not. This, I think your best case scenario is this. It's Chris Bubich from last year, right? It's a guy that he's probably going to be projected for 130, 140 innings, but they could be really good 130 innings, something like that, if it all works out. If it doesn't, you're dropping him for the next guy, right?
What'll really help too is if Andres Jimenez is playing short for the Jays. Even if Bo Bichette comes back, if Bichette's playing short, then I think you can add 0.2 onto the ERA for every pitcher as opposed to Jimenez.
Yeah, I think I'd be really good for them. That's what they absolutely should be doing, is having Jimenez there at shortstop. All right, another guy. This one coming from the KBO, coming from Korea. Anthony Kay going to the White Sox. Do we care about this one at all?
Not terribly. I mean, I was a little bit familiar with Anthony Kay because he came up in Toronto and he was god awful in some transition years as a relief pitcher. ERA is routinely up into the mid 5s. He's going to be the 4th starter for the White Sox. I just can't see there being a ton of value, even for the guys that I kind of like there, even the Shane Smiths of the world. I don't know that I really want to be investing in White Sox pitching, especially with a guy who has a very shaky track record in K. He had a good year last year, but there were still no strikeouts involved with it. A 21% strikeout rate. I just can't see that translating to anything higher than maybe 20%, and he's projected for 17 on Steamer, 18. That's probably about right.
So when we think about NPB, usually we think about like that being on like the same level as like a AAA, right? A league, or like in between AA and AAA, something like that. When we think about the KBO, we got to be thinking AA or like between high and AA, kind of. And if you're not able to get strikeouts in the KBO, I don't want you on my team. Like, I don't think this is gonna end well. Like, maybe fools guys in the same way that Fetty did for a little bit, and in deeper leagues, And here's the thing: they signed him. They gave him a 2-year contract. He will be pitching.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, if you're in a draft champions and you want to go after a guy like K super, super late because you'll get the innings, he's going pick 685. Like that is free. I know I get in trouble for calling guys free, but that's free.
Yeah, 47th round. Maybe you start him 7 or 8 times in the right matchups.
You have too many guys hurt, whatever, like that. Like, he's gonna be pitching as long as he's healthy. So, like, yeah, draft champions, I get it. Outside of that, I don't even want him in AL, honestly. But draft champions, I get it. It's one of your last picks.
It's odd because he had strikeout upside as a reliever in Toronto. There was a couple of years in short sample sizes where it was 25, 30% strikeout rate, albeit, we're talking pretty small sample sizes, but there was some strikeout potential. It just seems to be gone now. And yet he had a successful year, but I can't see it.
Yeah. All right. Then we move over to Michael Soroka going to the Diamondbacks. He looked like he was turning things around and finally putting together like a full kind of interesting season in Washington. Even though the surface numbers weren't great, the underlying numbers were. He had a 3.45 xERA, but then what happens to Mike Soroka? He gets hurt. He only threw less than 90 innings last year. He's now signing a 1-year deal to go to Arizona. Are we drafting him anywhere? Draft champions, maybe? I don't know.
I could see it in DCs. I'm going to just check the price on him in DCs. I can't imagine it's that expensive. Recently, the last couple of weeks, it's like in the 400 area. But he's kind of varied all over the place. But it's not
437.
Not expensive at all. I really like Mike Soroka. Last year, like you said, 4.52 ERA, nothing to write home about. But he had a 113 WHIP, which is, I think, a lot more predictive than ERA. 17.4% strikeout minus walk rate. That's a really solid number. The xERA you mentioned was good. The barrel rate was only 6%, 40% hard hit. A lot of good, solid numbers for him. He's not a big stuff guy, but he's had success, and I think that we could see a potential for a couple of different roles here. Maybe he starts. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends up closing because, look at their bullpen right now. It's a disaster. Yeah. Andrew Salfrank is going to be the closer for them.
No, they're going to go get somebody, right?
I think so, but most of the guys have been signed, as we're going to talk about in the next half an hour or so. Most of the big closers have been signed. Maybe they go and get Fairbanks or something, but Justin Martinez is going to be out for, I think, the whole year, a majority of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if Soroka ends up with a closer role at some point there.
Yeah, he obviously could. I think they probably sign him as a starter, but I was just looking at their bullpen, and this bullpen is pretty disastrous. We could do, Congressman or Diamondbacks reliever for sure.
Andrew Hoffman.
Yeah, exactly. That for sure is like the 4th representative from Tennessee. A guy like there's no way. Yeah, because now I'm looking at who's still available on. There's not much. Pete Fairbanks.
That's about it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much because Kyle Finnegan signed. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit. Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Is he a free agent?
He is.
Yeah, he could close. He's very, very shaky to watch. Like some days he looks like Mariano, and some days he looks like get this guy out of here.
I wonder if Kenley Jansen would. I feel like he only wants to pitch in LA, either with the Angels or the Dodgers, and that's why he signed with the Angels. But Arizona, that might make some sense right there.
I could see, same general geographic area. He gets to stay in the warmth. Yeah, Kenley's
Yeah.
not signed.
Um,
That would be pretty much the only other option, unless I'm missing somebody.
I mean, there's reclamation project guys like you could Chris Martin, Luke Weaver, um, guys like that, Evan Phillips.
Chad Green, I think, is a free agent, but I don't know how
Yeah.
people want to go down that road again.
So yeah, well, and then you got to wonder, like, and we'll talk about this here, like in a little bit, like some of these teams who just signed relievers, like, are they going to trade for a guy, right? Like, or trade away a guy, like, right? Like, why, like Rossiel Iglesias and Robert Suarez, that's interesting. Like, but they still have Dylan Lee and Aaron Bummer and like all these guys. Like, could is Trevor McGill going to be on the move somewhere? Like, right?
Has David Robertson retired?
I don't think he has, but I mean, if that's your answer, you're definitely not a serious team right now.
No,
right?
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I think Arizona is a serious team. So I don't know what they're going to do. Like Soroka is interesting to me in Arizona because, like you said, like he doesn't have the overwhelming stuff, but what he does do really well is pitch to contact. And you've got a pretty good park and a fantastic defense behind you. And that could be the recipe for success if he can stay healthy. The problem is, I don't know if he can stay healthy at this point in his career, but I'll take a gamble in a DC. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's. I think that's all. Oh no, one. Well, I don't know if he's going to be a starter or a reliever. What is Steven Matz these days? He signed a 2-year deal to go to Tampa Bay. Is he going to be a starter, a swingman? Like, I don't even know what they're going to do with Steven Matz in Tampa.
Yeah, I don't like what we have projected right now with Ian Seymour projected in AAA. I think Ian Seymour should have that role. Now, I didn't realize they gave him $7.5 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he had a decent year last year, but for a team that's usually pretty analytically inclined, I'm a little bit surprised that the Rays would do this. I don't know how projectable Steven Matz is now, going to be 35 years old. I mean, don't get me wrong, he did have a good year last year, but he's been very inconsistent throughout his career. He could very easily give you a 5+ ERA at any given moment. Ian Seymour had a great year last year. I've drafted him once this year. I know when we talked with Frank Stanfill in Arizona, he was talking about him a lot. I would think that he would have the 5th starter's job and Matz would be more of a swingman guy. But the fact that they gave him a 2-year deal with that money, maybe he will start as the 5th starter, which I do not like.
Well, I mean, I think the answer is pretty clear. Is he's gonna buddy up with someone, right? He's gonna be a tandem guy. Steven Matz, I don't think he went over 4 innings. So he went over 4 innings once on April 16th. But after the end of April, he never again went over 2 innings pitched in an outing. So like, I think he is going to be like an opener or a bulk guy. He'll pair up with like a Boyle or whoever their right-handed guy is going to be, which sucks for Seymour because I was high on Seymour too, but now I don't know. Now here's the thing: injuries happen, right? And especially on this Rays team over the course of the last few years, saying Seymour is out of a job is giving a lot of faith to a Shane McClanahan who did not pitch last year. It's giving a lot of faith to a Steven Matz who has not been able to stay healthy. So like this could all work itself out, and maybe now is the time to buy Ian Seymour because I'm sure his ADP will drop quite a bit, and he'll be very, very affordable in drafts. So like this might be a time to actually go out and try to see if you can trade for him in trading leagues like keeper leagues. But I think this works itself out one way or another by the time we get to opening day. There's no way the 5 guys that got penciled in the rotation are actually all standing by the time we get to opening day.
Do you think that there's any potential for a trade of any of these starters? Could they trade McClanahan or could they trade?
I don't think you can trade McClanahan. I think you have to rehab the value. If you're going to trade someone, it's Boz, right?
Yeah, but he was a 4.85 ERA last year or something.
Yeah, but he was like a 3.6 at home or 3.6 on the road, right? And they're going. I mean, I don't know if
Right.
they trade any. They've got control on all these guys, so I don't know if they're gonna trade any of them. But I mean, I guess they could trade Rasmussen, but like, do you want to try? I think he's
He's
their best
great.
pitcher. Like,
Yeah, I think he is
yeah.
too. Outside of
So,
McClanahan when he's healthy, but I agree. Like Rasmussen has never had an ERA above 3,
mhm.
except for the COVID year where he threw 15
I
innings.
was super bummed I didn't get him in this draft I was in. He went like I passed on him so I could take a catcher, and then he never made it back around to me. So yeah, I'm a big Rasmussen guy this year for sure.
His whip has never even been as high as 1.1. Like
Yeah,
he's so good.
it's all about volume. It's what volume you're gonna get from him, you know. But
Yeah.
he's going in a fair spot in drafts. So
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about these kind of this closer chaos that we have been experiencing here. We'll start with the big one, which I believe happened yesterday as well. It's Edwin Diaz to the Dodgers, the largest free agent closer signing or relief pitcher signing of all time. You had to know it was happening, right? Like, you know, the Dodgers, their one weakness was in the bullpen last year. They go out and they get the best reliever on the market in Edwin Diaz. Um, should Diaz be the number one closer off the board, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the rankings, and I was kind of tinkering with them over the last couple days. I have him at 1 right now, Mason Miller at 2, Juan Duran at 3. That's the way I have it. I could be convinced to moving things around a little bit, but Diaz is just so great pitching for that team. I mean, he could have 60 saves. He could break the save record, and I wouldn't be sitting here a year from now all that surprised by it. The underlying stats are just as good as the surface stats. Everything is. I saw him compared to prime Mariano Rivera the other day, and at first I scoffed, but he might be the closest thing going. And pitching for that team, which is always going to be in the 100 to 110 win kind of vicinity, I think he's the number one guy.
Yeah, I think he is too. I didn't take I let off my closer run in my draft, and I took Andres Munoz. But I easily could have taken Diaz, Duran, Mason Miller, any of those guys. I think it's a tier of 4, and I would have been happy. So I think he's a stud. He's going to be going the 3rd round, yeah, maybe even the 2nd round now of drafts. And like, I'm a guy who pays for saves. I don't have a problem with that, but most people won't be pulling the trigger that early on a closer.
Well, especially this time of year, if you're drafting, you kind of have to pay for saves. We've already seen people get burned, right? If you drafted Robert Suarez and I don't know who was another one that would have got you burned. Suarez is kind of the main example in my head right now.
Do you think Robert Suarez is going to be the setup guy?
Yeah, that's what they said. I
don't buy that at all. Not with how Iglesias, like, I mean, he may start as the setup guy, but so like if Suarez drops tremendously in drafts, I'm going to be taking Suarez as my third guy.
Yeah, that I could get behind as a 3rd guy. But people have been taking him in the 5th or 6th round now, and that's kind of like the point. Like if you're doing a draft this time of year, especially with gladiators, you kind of need to pay up for closers anyway. There's no way of finding them on the waiver wire or anything like that. You need to just, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, just take 2 closers, depending on where you are in the draft. I know it feels shitty. You're gonna hate yourself doing it, but you're gonna like yourself in August and September of next year when you have 58 saves and a lot of people have 24, 25 saves. Take Diaz, take Munoz, take a combination of the two, especially if you're drafting before the calendar flips over.
Yeah. Let's talk about Robert Suarez to the Braves. So you kind of mentioned you think he's going to be a setup guy. They're saying he's a setup guy. I don't buy it. Like you said, like I mean, maybe that's how it starts off the year. But like if you draft Iglesias, right, as your closer, you have to go get Suarez now, right?
I think it depends on the price because Iglesias has been pretty consistent. I haven't done like a full blown deep dive, but did he have a velo drop? A slight velo drop last year. Stuff went down a little bit. I feel like the Braves are gonna
shaky moments. And I just think the problem with the Braves were like they didn't have other options to go to. Though they did go to Dylan Lee, right? They did go to other guys last year at times. I just think if they give Robert Suarez, if like they go to Robert Suarez at some point, they're not going back. Like that's the end of it, right?
I guess the thing with Suarez too for me is that I always, I'm not always, but the last couple of years, it does feel like he is slightly outperformed his expected numbers.
Sure.
The barrel rate went up a little bit this year. He hadn't been a big strikeout guy the last 2 years. It did jump up his strikeout rate to 27%. I'm not 100% sure of what he is going to look like. And I guess I could say that about both of them. And maybe it's just that Iglesias has a longer track record of being a closer. I'm mostly just basing what I'm saying off of what the team is saying right now, which is probably not the wisest thing to do. But I guess it
They
really
gave
depends on
Suarez 3 years, though. They gave Iglesias 1 year.
maybe that's an age thing. How well
Suarez is 35.
Yeah, and Iglesias, yeah, there's only a 1 year age difference. I guess they see Suarez as the successor, and maybe to your point, we gradually see that over the course of the year. So if you were going to project saves over the course of the year, would you say it's like 20-10 or like, or maybe that's too low a number, like 25-15 split, or how would you
Yeah,
see it going?
I would say 25 for Suarez and 15 for Iglesias. I think Iglesias gets in
Okay.
any trouble and he's going to lose that job, even if he enters the year with a job. So like, yeah, I think I'll be interested to see where. I wonder if I can see it. I'm gonna look up and see the last few drafts where Suarez has gone. Like where is he fallen right now? Looked like he went pick 230 in a draft, but in most leagues he's still going, pick 80, pick 92. Like that's way too high for a guy. I don't know what his role is going to be. So
Yeah, for sure. Now he can't be like I think.
no, I mean some of those were probably started before. There were slow drafts that probably started before. So
Yeah, I mean, what's an appropriate price to pay for Suarez now? 250 ish,
yeah, something like that.
something like
200.
that. 200. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We got Devin Williams to the Mets. I really thought Edwin Diaz was going to go back to the Mets. And when they signed Devin Williams, as quickly as they did, because he was pretty much like the first big reliever off the board, I was a little surprised. But it makes sense, right? If they believe that Devin Williams can be a little, be the guy he has been in the past, and they're saving some money on, what had to be a record-breaking deal on Edwin Diaz, I get it. Where are you drafting Devin Williams in leagues?
I mean, I currently have him slotted in fourth with Munoz fifth, and I could flip flop that. The window to buy him is probably shut now because he was going at 100, 110. In my first Gladiator, he was my first closer at pick 110, and I don't think I'm getting that again. But
No.
I think that he is totally, totally fine. He is primed for a bounce back. There is nothing that I look at from his first few dominant years as a reliever to last year and say, oh, he really lost a step in this department. I think it was mostly just a bit of bad luck. And if you look at the numbers that really stand out, 55% strand rate did not do him any favors, 75 for his career. The last couple elite years, he'd been 85 and 92. That's a real simple way to save a lot of runs. Even if he just goes back to league average. His FIP last year was 268. His whip in a horrid year was 1.13, 25% strikeout minus walk rate. He got the walks below 10% for the first time in his career. Stuff was still good, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's a top 5 closer locked in. I kind of see it as a top 5 tier. And then once I get to Cade Smith, I get a little bit. I still really like Cade Smith, but those top 5 closers, I think are locked in, and you can put them in any real order: Diaz, Miller, Duran, Munoz, and Williams, and I wouldn't have a huge problem with any order.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think I'm probably going to have him fifth, but I have no problem with anybody taking him, even that anywhere in that top 5, or from like 2 to 5, maybe even 2 to 6, depending if you want to throw Cade Smith into that discussion as well. All right, Ryan Helsley to the Orioles. Helsley kind of relegated to a setup role after he was traded to the Mets. He's going to be the full-time closer guy now, right?
Yeah. There was talk about he was going to maybe be converted to a starting pitcher this offseason. I heard that before he signed, but I can't see it happening now.
No.
It really just looks like a lot of the troubles came down to the home runs, and how much of that is luck, how much of that is his fastball wasn't that great last year. For his career, the home run per nine is 0.84. He had a 9.3 homer to fly ball. And last year, it was 1.29 homer per nine, 14.5% homer to fly ball rate. I think that describes a lot of the trouble. 342 BABIP as well. I don't think he was as good last year as he'd been in previous years, but I don't think he deserved a 4.5 ERA and a 1.54 whip. That is a horrific whip. I just can't see him being anywhere close to that bad. You're paying for the saves, and the ratios will be what they'll be. He should get 25 saves. And you're probably going to get somewhere in the 3.2 ERA neighborhood, I would imagine, from him. I can't see him being anywhere near that bad again. Can you?
No. I think he goes back to being kind of the guy we expect him to be. There'll be a little bit of ups and downs as there always are with him, but I'm not worried about him at all. I'm not worried about Helsley at all. And currently he's going to pick 152. Though the price is rising, and I'm sure it will continue to rise as he's been kind of averaging around like pick 70, pick 80. So you're going to have to pay the price, but if you don't want to spend a top 50 price on, some of these other guys you talked about, I think he's kind of the guy who leads off the next, tier.
Yeah, I actually drafted him. I've done 2 gladiators, and I'm just looking to see where I took him. I think it was the 7th round. Maybe it was even the 6th round.
He went in the front end of the 6th round in mine.
So I took him in the middle of the 5th round.
Yeah.
Middle of the 5th round. Which is probably getting aggressive, but then again, like closers started going in the 2nd round of gladiators. So it's if you don't get them there, you're never getting them at all.
Yeah. But I do think he kind of, especially now that Suarez is going to drop, like he may be in a tier all by himself. Kind of look at it, he kind of is.
Yeah.
Right? I put him in a tier above the Emilio Pagans of the world, the Kenley Janssens, the Palencias, the Trevor McGills, but he does not belong in the discussion of like the Munoz, the Williams, the Diaz's, the Durans. So he is kind of like his own tier, and I wonder if that means he'll move up, or will the lower tier catch up with him at some point?
The only guy I can see being in that same vicinity is maybe Chapman.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of agree. He's on a bit of an island there. If you miss out on that first range of closers, no problem with taking a couple of shots later. If you took a shot on Chapman last year later, things worked out pretty well.
Yeah, they absolutely did. All right, then we talk about one guy who's returning, and it's just because it's a little bit of a muddled situation, and I want to see what your take is. That's Kyle Finnegan returning back to the Tigers, where he was traded mid-season. Where are you at on Finnegan? Do you think he's the guy? Do you think it's going to be Will Vest? Or which one, or are you investing in, or are you just going to stay away from this kind of situation completely?
If I'm shopping in this range, it means I've probably not done what I've wanted to do in my draft with closers. But looking at the way that it worked last year, Finnegan was there from the trade deadline on. He got a few saves, but Vest was predominantly the closer. Now, Finnegan did get hurt and missed a couple of weeks at the beginning of September, but there were 1, 2, 3, 4 saves that he had with the Tigers. And if you're looking at Vest during that same time, he was getting the majority of the opportunity. So as of today, I would still think that Vest is probably going to have more of an opportunity. I think that he is a better pitcher at this point in time. But bringing in Finnegan, this could almost resemble what we saw last year with Urseg and Estevez in Kansas City, where it's not necessarily the better pitcher getting the save opportunity. But I think if I had to bet on one or the other here, getting the lion's share of the saves, it's probably Vest. I just think he's a better arm, and I think that this is a team that wants to compete. I think at the end of the day, they probably give it one more good try with Skubal. I don't know if they have the stones to actually trade him. I think they go for it, and they're going to want to go with the best arm in the 9th inning the majority of the time. So I think Vest is that guy, probably.
Death, taxes, and the Tigers not committing to a closer. Like
Yeah.
I just think that this is going to go back and forth. They're going to ride the hot hand. Sometimes that'll be Finnegan. Other times that'll be Vest. there'll be other guys that emerge and steal saves here and there. Sometimes they're just going to want to use the best guy in the most opportune spot, which might be the 7th inning, right? So like I don't want to invest in this situation at all. Like I'm just staying away from it. There's other situations where they may be muddled now, but it could turn out like the Chapman situation. Because remember, everybody last year was like, is it Chapman? Is it Liam Hendricks? Is it? There was another guy too. Whitlock, right? Like, and like if you just invested in that situation and ended up with Chapman, you got him in like the 22nd round, getting you a crap ton of saves, right? So like, I'm not going. If these guys, if Finnegan, if Vess were going in the like 22nd round or 21st round or the 18th round, I'd be like, okay, I'll take a gamble on one of them, right? They're not. That like I'm in a draft right now, and Finnegan went in the 13th round, and Vest went 4 picks later. Like that's way too high to invest potentially as your second closer in a guy that may get you 5 saves because they just end up going with the other guy, or like best case scenario, like they each get 16. Like
Yeah, and that's not great either. And
no.
I mean, to your point about you never know what they're going to do. We all drafted Alex Lang a couple of years ago thinking he was going to be the closer. Opening day save opportunity, not Alex Lang. So who the hell knows? At the
Tyler Holton or whoever, whoever the guy, like I'm not messing with it. That's like the Philadelphia situation, prior to Duran, right? Like just not messing with it. Like
Romano, Alvarado, Kirk, Ringhoff. Yeah.
Just not going to mess with these kind of muddled situations unless it's at the end of my draft. If it's in the a round that starts with 2 because it's round 20 to round 29, like then I'll take a dart throw, right? Because I can drop that guy easily. But round 13, nah, I'm not messing with those guys there. All right, let's finish it out with Gregory Soto, the Pirates. I don't think he's the closer. I think Dennis Santana is going to be the guy, but you never know what the Pirates are going to do. Soto has closer experience. Any interest in Soto?
Yeah, I don't mind taking Soto at all. I tweeted it out the other day, just looking at their numbers from last year. Pretty similar across the board when you look at the things I like to look at. The Sierra was very similar, 368 to 349. Swinging strike rate, 13% for both. 16% strikeout minus walk, 16.5%. Soto had a 115 stuff, and Santana is 95, and it's also lefty versus a righty. So I think that they'll probably just be situational here and go with the guy. Like I don't know that it'll be a capital C situation. I would say that Santana probably ends up with more saves, but I could still see Soto taking enough to make this not that interesting, especially for a team that's probably only going to win 75 games in the best case scenario. If Soto even takes 10 saves away from Santana, what are we getting from Santana? 18 saves or something maybe? So I do see this being a little bit more of a split just based on the matchups and who's coming up in the 9th. If it's 2 lefties in the 9th, I think there's a decent bet at Soto.
I'm interested to see what the Pirates do, right? Because obviously the Pirates are going to pirate. We know this. Yeah. But there's been a lot of talk that, the CBA runs out at the end of the season and that there is going to be probably some sort of shutdown, right? Like some sort of lockout, because teams like the Pirates don't want to spend money. And there's been discussions that you could see teams like the Pirates and the Marlins spend money this offseason to try to have a better arguing, foothold. And the Pirates are a team, like if you look at this team, like they're not that far off from being competitors if they were to spend some fucking money, right?
Yeah.
Like
I think their lineups, I think, pretty bad, but the pitching is really good. They need a couple bats, but they've been trying to get a couple bats. They're in on Schwarber, right?
They just traded for Garcia, right? Like you add a third baseman, you add like Joey Bart, you add like, or you got Joey Bart who showed some things last year as an addition. Yes, this lineup is bad, but like that pitching. Skeens, Keller, Ashcraft, Bubba Chandler, Mike Burrows, like that's a pretty decent pitching staff. Like they've added, some interesting pitchers into this bullpen. Like you had like 2 bats. You had here we go. You had Polanco to play second.
Put Bregman
right?
at third. Bregman to third.
Like that. I mean, I don't think Bregman's signing there, but
No,
like I can see a world where this team is interesting at least. Maybe I'm just like
no, I could see it. They need to spend. They need to spend, and I don't know if these reports about them wanting to spend and making offers are 100% above board. Maybe they are going out and kicking the tires on free agents. Are they seriously going out there and thinking that Kyle Schwarber is going to come or whoever? Like, are they talking with Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette?
yeah.
I don't know if they are. I think O'Neal
I
Cruz is a big question mark too. Like, I think he's a bad hitter right now, man. He needs to
he's
change
always
a
been a
lot.
bad he's always been a bad hitter. He's just got so
Yeah,
much power and speed that he makes up for it. Like it's
yeah,
yeah, like he's never been like a good pure hitter. He's just like so fucking powerful when he does make contact.
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: like, if they go out and they get like a Ryan O'Hearn and like I don't know, yeah, a Jorge Polanco type, like then you're like, okay, well, they're just doing enough to make it seem like but like, yeah, if they went out and actually made some deals here, I don't think they will. And like, if you're a free agent, do you want to sign there long term? Like, I think
And
that's
that
the bigger issue, right? Like, I don't think you want to go to Pittsburgh, even if they're saying like we're gonna give you a bag. Like I don't like if you're Kyle Tucker and your best offers coming from Pittsburgh, aren't you taking less money to go to the Yankees or going to the Cubs or go,
Toronto,
the Mets?
anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's going to hold them back from pretty much everybody. They've just made such a fool of themselves the last couple of years, and the whole thing with like Bubba Chandler's going to spend the whole year in the minors. That was ridiculous. Bubba Chandler, it seemed, just stopped caring about pitching. Even he realized how ridiculous it was. I don't know what free agents like if Kyle Tucker's agent tells him, yeah, the Pirates want to meet with you. Do they sit there and have a laugh? Do they actually take the
Yeah.
meeting? Like, I don't know what the reputation of the Pirates is around baseball, but it can't be anything close to great.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm looking at the free agent, offensive players, and like I just don't know who it could be. Like to me, it's like I think like the best case scenario would be like a Eugenio Suarez, right? Like or
Yeah,
like
see it.
I could see that. Like, but even that, like I just think like if you're Eugenio Suarez, do you want to finish your career in Pittsburgh?
And I think that could be said for pretty much any free agent if you're signing there with term.
Yeah,
Is this where
yeah.
you want, like, you're pretty much giving up any championship hope unless they're just paying you such a stupid amount of money that you have to take it. I mean, Bregman's already won his championships. Maybe if they really gave him enough money, he would do it.
No
But
way, Bregman. There's no way Bregman does
I
that.
doubt
Like,
it. I doubt it.
like no way Tucker does it. Like, I don't think Bellinger does that, right? Like, I I just don't see it.
Could they sign a Framber? I mean, well, they don't need pitching, but maybe Framber.
Nah.
Framber, I just feel like will have such a bad market because of how he's kind of ruined his reputation. Maybe he has to go to a place like Pittsburgh.
I think
But
Framber's gonna do fine. They'll be a
you think
team.
so?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think he will probably wait, but you look at like what's left on like the pitching market, and like it's not great. Like, there's not a lot. Like, especially in terms of like a frontline guy, right? You got Ranger Suarez, you got Merrill Kelly, you got Chris Bassett, you've got Adrian Hauser and Verlander, Nick Martinez, Lucas Giolito. Like Framber is clearly, 10 steps ahead of all those guys. Like, it's not even close, right? Like, the closest guy to that is Ranger Suarez. And I love Ranger Suarez, but Suarez doesn't fit every location,
Yeah, and
right?
I don't know how he's going to age either without the velo on the left side. Like, I just don't know if he's a guy that you can look at 34 and think he's going to be successful at that
Yeah.
point.
I mean, I just think there's like some team is just going to go, what, screw the issues. Like, we're just, they don't care about, like, teams really just don't care about character. Like, let's be honest. Like,
The
it's,
only thing that I think might hurt him is that most managers are predominantly catchers or former catchers. And just seeing the way that he disrespected a rookie catcher like that, there might be some people who are just like, I don't want him on my team. I
yeah,
could
I
see
mean,
a
like, he's
couple,
not going to San Francisco. That's for sure. Like, Buster
yeah.
Posey's not shelling that money out. But, like, I don't like. Well, I mean, I don't know if the Mets will. Like the Mets are the Mets being a team that people are questioning on if they're going to spend money or not. Like that really throws a wrench into things because all of a sudden, like that's like the biggest market team, right? The richest owner at least in baseball saying, I don't know if I'm going to spend money. Like then what happens? Like the Dodgers don't need Framber. Um, Yankees.
The Yankees, I mean, they don't really need him, but I could see that being
I'm just trying to think of where the money's at.
like the Yankees have been crying poor too, which I don't really understand. I don't know if you've seen some of these quotes recently that they're not really that profitable. People shouldn't assume that they're that profitable and all this bullshit.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
But they could probably use a starter going forward. I mean, they have Fried locked up, but outside of Fried, I don't really know what Luis Heel is going to be. Schlittler should be really good. Garrett Cole is, I don't know how much you're really going to get out of him anymore. Rodon's 33. They kind of need to shore up for the future to have another guy to go along with. That is an already established guy. Schlittler might be really great. He might not be. You don't really know. At least if you bring in Framber, you have that established guy for the next several years. Rodon is so up and down. Cole might never be the same again. I think they probably should do. They need to do something. The Yankees need to do something. I don't know if it'll be that, but they probably need to do a couple things, really.
I mean, like to me, it's like every team outside of the Marlins in the NL East should. Like, if you put Framber Valdez on the Braves, and yes, they've already got a full rotation right now, but talking about a full rotation of Chris Sale, who is 37 and has dealt with his own injury issues over the last few years. Spencer Schwellenbach's coming off of a fractured elbow. Spencer Strider is coming off of an off year in his year back from an elbow issue. Reynaldo Lopez, what are you going to get from him this year? Waldrop, like I don't know what Waldrop is quite yet. I think he's interesting, but is he really a guy that you want to pin your hopes on? Like Atlanta should do it. The Mets, obviously, they need a front. Like if the Mets got a front-loaded starter, make the rest of that rotation look really, really good.
Well, that's where he should go. That's the place that makes the most sense for Framber because this rotation is bullshit as of today.
I love Nolan Klein. I drafted him as my SP3, I think, in the draft I'm in right now. I
like him. But 48 innings, he can't be the ace of a team that has, on the outside, World Series aspirations, followed by Peterson, Clay Holmes, Minaya, Senga. That's a rough group of guys who are all on the wrong side of 30.
But even
Framber makes sense.
The Nationals, who are spending no money right now, like all of a sudden you add Framber Valdez to this rotation, and this is a legit interesting team. Now you still need to add another arm. You got Josiah Gray coming back. Cade Cavielli's shown something, right? Jake Irvin is an innings eater, dude. Mackenzie Gore has shown ace upside when he is right. Like all of a sudden, like that's an interesting team if they go out and spend some money. I don't think they're going to, but I'm saying like every team should be in on this guy. So one team will get there. Like one team will give him $150 million.
The Mets do feel like they make a lot of sense. And another team that hasn't shied away from giving out money to pitchers over the years is the Diamondbacks. And their ace right now, according to us, is Ryan Nelson. And as much as I love him, that's not sustainable for a team.
That is the dream scenario for Framber. It's a great park to pitch in and an amazing defense, right? With a team that's going to win a lot of games because offensively they're good. I love that. The question is, like you said, they have not shied away from giving out pitching money, but does that scare them? Because that pitching money has not gone well.
That's fair. Yeah, Montgomery.
Jordan Montgomery, Eduardo Rodriguez, that's a lot of their payroll right now. And that may scare the fuck out of them, right? That's why the Giants don't spend money on pitching, right? The Giants refuse, they'll go get, these Gosmans and Rodon types on 1 year pillow deals, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to invest long term. The only guy they've invested long term in is Logan Webb. because they got burned too many times, right?
What did they give Robbie Ray? Was Robbie Ray like a 2-year, 3-year?
Yeah, but he was a trade.
Oh, he was Seattle trade, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was.
Mitch Haniger.
Yeah, so like that's, and
Right.
it's worked out well, but like they're not going to give Robbie Ray a long-term extension either. Like when that contract's over, he's going to walk. Yeah, exactly. Barry Zito is the reference in the chat. So like I do have a hard time picking like where Framber could Baltimore, like there you go. Like I know they said they don't want to spend the money to do it, but like that's go like you trade prospects for a for a Scooble or for a Pavetta, for a Freddie Peralta, and then you bring in Framber as well, and all of a sudden that awesome looking offense has Framber, let's say Peralta, Tyler Rogers, and Bradish. All of a sudden that team looks like a beast in the East to rival you guys and the Yankees, and all of a sudden the East is back to being just an insane division.
There's one more spot that I think could make sense, and it depends on the direction they want to go. But the Padres, their top 3 in their lineup is Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado. This should not be a team that is breaking things down. If they trade Tatis,
they're not. They're not. They won't.
I don't think they will either.
They're in a lot of financial troubles because of throwing money around, right? Like and obviously, like there was the owner died, and there's like the owner had the original or the last owner and who just passed away had like a much different relationship to the team than his kids do. Like the kids are like, oh, we need to fix this money issue, and the previous owner was like, hey, I just want to win a championship, and great, but yeah, like they threw around a lot of bad money, and like Bogarts. Bogarts, you Darvish, they gave you Darvish like that weird ass extension. Like there's a reason why Cease walked away real fast, and I don't think, if anything, they're going to subtract.
The only reason I would think it makes sense is just because their pitching is in such a dire state, and everything else kind of works. Their lineup is, I think, pretty solid. They have Mason Miller. They have arguably the best closer in the game. And then they have Randy Vasquez, JP Sears, Kyle Hart. It's awful. You got to hope that Joe Musgrove can come back.
There's a lot of teams that make sense. The Cubs make sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're a big money market team that right now their rotation is Matthew Boyd, Cade Horton, Shota Imanaga, Jameson Taya, and Colin Ray. Like that, like they bring in a Framber Valdez, and all of a sudden that looks like a really great rotation.
And honestly, right? I think it's just every team, because I look at it now, it's like, yeah, he makes sense on the Red Sox too. And it's like, yeah, he just makes sense for every team.
Yeah, it makes sense. Of course he does. So like some team will buckle. I don't know, Cincinnati, like you add a guy like him to the Cincinnati rotation, all of a sudden
perfect for that park. Perfect for that park.
Yeah, like are they going to do that? No, they've got this cheap rotation that they're just going to roll with, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not going to go out and spend the money, but like every team should be in on Framber. The catcher cross up issue aside, I don't know who's going to be the one who takes the dive. Somebody will, though. No way is this a Blake Snell situation where like, and I mean it could be, but I don't think so.
If he goes into March unsigned, I won't be all that interested anymore. But I don't think it'll get to that. I think by the time,
had too much action already. Like there's just not a lot on the board still.
And today is December 11th, and looking at the last couple of years, we're right in the time period where Ohtani signed, where Juan Soto signed. So I think like we'll probably see Tucker get signed in the next week or so, and we'll see most of the dominoes.
Where do you think Tucker goes?
I can't even give the take without sounding like a homer, but I think he's coming to Toronto.
Really?
He's come to the facilities. There was something with him and Vladdy talking back and forth on Instagram or something that people were reading too much into. But aside from all of that, the small factors, Toronto has shown that they are willing to spend. And Toronto has the second richest ownership group in all of baseball behind the Mets. Rogers is worth about $20 billion US, and they're willing to spend it. They gave Vladdy a ton of money. They gave Dylan Cease a ton of money. I think that Tucker comes to Toronto. If he doesn't come to Toronto, I think it'll be one of those other massive markets. He's going to get enough money that'll keep 20 or 23 teams from even making him an offer. Do you think he could go to your neck of the woods? I wouldn't love it for a ballpark perspective, but would they pay Kyle Tucker? Him and Devers back to back there for the next 10 years sounds pretty appealing.
I don't think so. I don't think the Giants are gonna do anything. I think if the Giants do anything, I think it's upgrade second base, right? Like and rehab the bullpen. But like a lot of the bullpen pieces are gone now, right? So like I don't see them giving out another massive deal. I'd love them to, right? Like I feel like the Giants, to me, they should have tore it all down, right? Like when Buster Posey came in, they should have just said, "Hey, we're gonna let Buster rebuild this team in his image. Let's tear it all down. Let's trade away everything." You know, I mean, outside of maybe like Logan Webb, right? Because you know he's fan favorite and you know kind of face the franchise. Or even trade away him because I think you get a lot for Logan Webb on his deal. But when they didn't, when they said nope, we're not doing that, we're adding. Like now you have to commit. You have said like you gave Willie Adames all that money. You gave or you traded for Rafael Devers, right? Now you're committed. So like yeah, like they should be calling up, you know, the Tigers and saying, "Hey, do you want Bryce Eldridge?" You know, in a Scoople deal. Like they should be, you know, knocking down Kyle Tucker's store right now and saying like, "Hey, you know, like we're going to put together, you know, yeah, the park isn't great for hitting, but we're going to give you enough money where it's never going to matter again." You know, like they absolutely should. Are they going to? No, I don't think they are.
I feel like Toronto makes a lot of sense from him, and it makes a lot of sense for Toronto's lineup as well. He's a left-handed version of Vladdy. They're almost the same type of guy offensively. Tucker, obviously, with the speed component, but offensively, it's two guys who do the same thing from either side of the dish. It's such an advantage if you have them hitting back-to-back. If that means Bo doesn't come back, then that means Bo doesn't come back. But Jeff Passan suggested last night Toronto could sign both of them. So I'm kind of not used to my team being a big market team, but I'm all here for it. If we get Tucker, I'll happily take it. And I think that he's that's the last thing I could kind of have to wrap up in a second. But Tucker going in the second round to me seems like one of the better deals of draft season.
Oh, I didn't realize he was going that low.
I got him in the second round of my first Gladiator. Maybe he's moved up a little bit, but I think his ADP is like 17 or 18. He seems like one of the better bargains on the board.
ADP and Draft Champions 18 right now. Like that's I'd take that all day
as a turn pick. Oh man,
yeah, especially because I feel like after that second round, there's a massive drop off, and you see in the ADP, right? So like top 10 are all in the first two rounds. Now that includes Pete Armstrong. I would not put Pete Armstrong there, but after Pete Armstrong, then there's a 30 pick drop to Wyatt Langford, who's the number 11th outfielder. Right. So like to me, like I want to get one of those outfielders in the first two rounds if I can, because I know that drop off is massive. Now there are a lot of guys I like, but yeah, no, I agree. I think Kyle. And once he signs, he'll shoot up. Right. We see it. We see it. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter like what the news is. If there's news on a guy because he signed, because he gets traded, they move up. Just the word of mouth. So like I think for sure he will move. I think Kyle Tucker will for sure move up into the first round after he signs.
Yeah, he'll jump Kurtz, he'll jump Raleigh, he'll probably jump Gunner. I could see him jumping Lindor. That was I picked 13th in my first Gladiator. It was Lindor and Tucker I paired there, and I don't know if I'll be able to do that many more times. Tucker, I think should be a top 11 or 12 pick a lot of the time.
I agree. All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. Joe, remind everybody where you reached and what you're working on right now.
Yeah, Joe Orrico 99, usually shit posting something on Twitter these days. You can find me there. Lots of podcasts at Fantasy Pros, and here we're going to be ramping up. Now we've kind of taken our off-season break, and now we're going to be getting back into the swing of things. Working on an article for the FTN Draft Guide, second base rankings for Fangraphs, all over the place, but you guys can keep track of it at Joe Orrico 99.
All right. You can reach me on all social media platforms, Justin Mason, FWFB. Haven't really been writing this off season. I've just been doing projections, but that's going to change here really, really fast. I'll be writing Fantasy Pros once they start kicking off their baseball content, and obviously at Fangraphs multiple times a week. All season long. You hear me on this podcast and the Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast. That's going to do it for us. For Joe and myself, thank you for listening. Have a fantastic baseball off season.